And we're back on Freshwaves. We're having a great morning. We're talking with Minni Sharma and Sonja Curic about divorce. Sonja is a family lawyer, and Minni,
registered psychotherapist.
A registered psychotherapist, but that sort of sounds, I don't know. You do a lot of really seriously good counseling. And one of the things that we've talked about is what you can provide for couples who aren't even thinking about getting a divorce. And that's kind of a reality check, relationship check, that kind of thing. So that starts at the very beginning. But if we just backtrack a little and start to summarize what we've been talking about, if someone feels like they're either together they want to get a divorce or individually they want to get a divorce, do they see the psychotherapist, which makes them sound like they're already certifiably crazy, or, sorry, I'm just talking old stereotypes, or do they go and see a lawyer first? And then does the lawyer refer them to the psychotherapist, or how does it work? Which is the first door that they would knock on?
Both, either or. I would say, it depends on their referral system. So they tell a friend, I don't know, I'm thinking of leaving John. Okay, well, I have this lawyer that I used or so-and-so used, and that might be their first point, right? I always, of course, coming from, being a therapist, would say, go and seek support from your therapist, from your family, from your friends, whatever it is that you need to kind of build that before you, because you have to be strong to get through this, right? You need some level of strength. It's not an easy journey. So of course, having that support system in place already, again, with the exit counseling, right? If you're both like, yeah, this isn't working, how are we going to do this so that our kids are going to be okay? We have questions. So I get a lot of couples like, we have questions. We don't know where to start. We're not happy together. Are kids going to be okay? Do you know any lawyers? So it depends on the person and where they're getting their referral or resources from. But I feel really, really strongly that through any adversity or any difficulty, have that therapist in place, because you build that relationship for the rest of your life. You don't have to see them for the rest of your life, but you have that if you need it.
It's almost like building a safety net.
Absolutely.
And the safety net is that you know if you ever need that kind of help again, that it's there. And you're not going to somebody who's never seen you before. As a matter of fact, if you're going through a divorce, they're probably going to get to see you at your worst.
Right, exactly. Yes. And you have that relationship. You've built that trust with that person, right? So, but again, knowledge is power. So I always say to my clients, talk to a lawyer, and we've kind of developed a system too with a lot of us at your collaborative practice, and especially in Stouffville, where we offer free consultations, right? A 30-minute consultation or just chat on the phone. So I might say, talk to Sonja. She'll give you some general information about your situation, and Sonja might say, talk to Minni. She'll give you an idea of what might work for you, or see if you have a connection. And I think that's where working together as professionals and knowing each other on a personal level is really, really important. So you can say with confidence, I really, Sonja does great work, or so-and-so does great work, and I have confidence in them, and that really does help. So it depends on the person, but throughout the process, I definitely highly recommend having a therapist there to support you through it.
My answer is go to who feels right.
Yeah.
For you.
But a lot of people don't know. They're just starting out.
No. So if money is top of mind, whether it ends up actually really being
a big concern.
Go to a financial professional. So, do you talk to somebody at the bank? Quite frankly, we have some excellent financial professionals in any of our practice groups. So, if you're in York Region, York Collaborative Practice.com. In Durham, there's a great group of committed people. I sit on the board there as well. Collaborative Practice Durham Region. We list all our financial professionals. So you have, if somebody's a small business owner, whether it's you yourself or your partner's spouses, and that's top of mind. How do we deal with the business? Okay. Talk to that person. Call, email. I heard this. Whether you're going to court, whether you're going to mediation, doesn't really matter. I agree with Minni. Information is power. Okay? If it is about the children, if it is about domestic violence, power control, and that's your fear, going to a family professional like Minni to shore up some strength, to learn about some resources. Is it that you need an exit plan. You need to go to a
Safety
shelter.
plan.
You need some emergency funds, all that kind of stuff. Do you go to a family law lawyer in that situation as well to say, you know, if I'm going to do this, what are my rights and obligations? I'm going to be left financially destitute. What does, you know, going to court mean? Okay? Because there are some times where we start in court and we don't end up finishing in court. So the number of times where we started a court application, it's blown up, and then when things happen, you know, there's been a decision made, you know, what's going to happen with the kids? Okay, but we don't want to continue in court.
Because court's expensive, isn't it?
It's not even just the expense. It's also the time. Okay? If you were to commence a court application, nothing urgent going on. So if today, you know, I met with someone and today I was signing with them an application that says, I'm applying for divorce. I'm applying, here's what it comes to custody of my children, of support, all the stuff that you're asking for the court to decide. You start it today, 2 to 3 months if you're lucky before your first case conference.
And what's a case conference?
Your case conference is your first opportunity to sit down with the judge and have the judge try to, in a sense, mediate, to facilitate, to help you kind of say, well, you know, if it was me deciding, here's kind of what I'm thinking, in the hopes it'll get the ball rolling. You know, this is realistic, this is not unreal, this is unrealistic, or, you know, I hear you're both good parents. Maybe you should go to mediation. Maybe you should go out in the hallway and talk. Come back in an hour. I'll hold your matter down. So the idea is to try to get people talking, and sometimes being in court's your first opportunity to really talk, other than emails and letters.
And if you agree, then the judge can sign off on that at that time, right? On
and then from then, how long does it take? It still takes another...
It takes upwards of a year before a trial.
Oh, longer, because even though you might...
Sorry, minimum. I should have said
minimum,
upwards. Yeah. So I would say a minimum.
Because you might say, oh, we're going to be in the May trial sittings, but if they're booked, you're going back to the next October, I think it is.
November.
Right? November.
Yeah.
So it could take years sometimes to get to trial. And also
but would trial be for the final divorce, or is trial for the separation agreement?
So the trial is going to say that, so the divorce is always the last thing. Yeah. The divorce is always this is officially ending the marriage. But before a court will grant that the marriage has come to an end, they need to be sure that the kids are provided for. That's it.
I think because we watch Hollywood movies and you're like, here's my divorce papers, and they just throw it down and it's done. Exactly. Yeah. It's not like that at all. The separation agreement is the important part, which consists of 2 parts, right? The children and the money. Right. And once those things are settled, the divorce is just
somebody signs a piece of paper.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of times is once, if you're already in court, then it's easy. You just kind of file the rest of the papers that you need to, and eventually you'll be granted what's called your divorce order, saying, the court has approved. Yeah, you're going to get divorced. You wait 31 days and then you get your divorce certificate. And it's that certificate that you need. So I always warn clients, are you planning on getting married anytime soon? Because you can't without the divorce certificate.
Yeah. That's really,
you know?
I remember one of my girlfriends who got her divorce certificate in the mail, and we had the best party. The divorce parties.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and going to court can just, the cost, I don't even know what to say about that. It's just, basically, when you go to trial, it's whatever you don't agree on, and that's what the judge is going to, whether it's custody or money or whatever, that's whatever's left over that you cannot agree on, and you need a judge, you have to go to trial for it.
The reality is the number of families that actually go to trial. Yeah. It is such a small number. Yeah. And I'm not talking
just because of the expense, or because
because of the time, because of the time and the expense. And the reality is, if push comes to shove,
most people tend to settle on, even if it's last minute.
Yeah.
Would you agree, though, Sonja, that in my experience, or what I've observed, I used to work at a women's shelter, so would support women through the family law process, is that oftentimes the people that do go to trial, there's some mental health issues for sure, or abuse or power and control. It's not... Most people will settle to some... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they really, truly need...
It's not going to happen otherwise.
Yeah.
So most people can, even when push comes to shove, will be like, fine, you know, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this. I'm getting sick.
Let me pay you, not the lawyers. Let me, pay for peace of mind. Let me pay, or I shouldn't say just pay. Let me accept something different or less, because it goes both ways. Yes. Right? Just because I need the finale, that light on the end of the tunnel, like I need it to be 100,000 miles closer than it feels right now.
There's no value to peace of mind. Like, you can't put a value on that. So sometimes you have to go, yes, money's important. Yes, you need to live, but is it worth your peace of mind and your health?
And your quality of life.
Your quality
and sometimes the answer is yes, because it is intertwined, right? If it's this other person is insisting that this is what their income is, but there's no way.
Right, where they undervalue themselves, or they
quit their job or demote themselves sometimes, so they don't have to
within
pay.
their own company, just so that they can get out the door.
Yeah.
Now, Minni, if we're talking about how that works, it would be really hard for a spouse, doesn't matter male or female, whose partner has all of a sudden devalued themselves. I mean, it must be also a shot to the other person's self-esteem as well, saying, you know, I know this is what they're capable of, and why aren't they doing it? And they must really hate me, and all this kind of stuff. It would get awful.
Unfortunately, it does happen. Again, it doesn't happen a lot, because I'm going to generalize, most people do care about what happens to their children.
Right.
And they do want their kids to be able to go to swimming lessons or dance lessons. And, you know, they know that their financial status, if they have a job and they demote themselves, they may not be able, their kids are going to suffer. It's going to affect their children. So most people don't do that. However, yes, I have heard cases and I've had files where that has happened, or a lot of people hide money. Right. I had one file years ago where the wife was a teacher, retired teacher. Their kids are grown, kids are professionals. But he was taking money out of the house for years and years. He had a business, hiding money all over the place. She had to pay him child support on a $40,000 salary. From her pension when he was, and they were driving like Mercedes, had a huge house, like, you know, their lifestyle was, she didn't have the money to have a forensic accountant either. So, but you know what she said to me? She ended up renting a small basement apartment, and she said, I don't care about that lifestyle. I've never had such peace before. So for her, it was worth it to give all that up and even pay him. She had to pay him spousal support, which is horrible. So he probably had millions, was spending it. She just couldn't prove where it was. So it does happen. Again, I was working at the women's shelter at the time, so I'm kind of bringing the worst case scenarios. And oftentimes even working at the shelter, women would leave their abusers, but they also go back for whatever reasons, right? They have their own reasons, and it wasn't about judgment. It was about doing a safety plan. It does happen with men as well. I have a stay-at-home dad. I have a file with stay-at-home dad. Mom has been earning. He stayed home with the kids. And it's interesting because she's also saying, well, I worked all this time and now I have to pay him out. Yeah. It's because it's for your kids though, right? I mean, we value stay-at-home parents. The law, and Sonja could speak to this more later, is we value stay-at-home parents, based on an income as well. I think it was their value is $100,000 or something, right? And I hear that a lot. We're like, why should I have to continue to pay? They never worked. Whoa, hold on a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. It is a tough job.
It's interesting because when you go to get life insurance, one of the things you have to do is value the work of the parent that's staying at home. And when you take a look at that from a financial point of view, they all put together, it's over $100,000.
Right, yeah.
Because you have to pay for childcare, you have to pay for someone to clean the house, someone to do the cooking, someone to do the grocery shopping. I mean, this is a full-time, 24-hour-a-day job.
Absolutely.
And when you start putting that into a dollar value, it is insane how much money it costs. Insane.
Right. And I also say you're where you're at in your career
because
your spouse raised your kids and you were able to focus on your career, right? And not have to worry. So your spouse actually supported you to get to the place where you are as well, right? And it's hard to swallow. Like I kind of understand where that spouse is coming from because, you know, they feel like I worked so hard and I made this money and so-and-so didn't make any money and now I have to give them half of that. And, you know, I get where they're coming from, but but at the same time, I say, can you put a value on that for your children though? Did a stranger raise your children? Your spouse did.
Were they one of 30?
Right, exactly.
And, it's not that child daycare or anything is bad. It's just that if you make a contract with someone at the beginning that one of you will stay home with the kids, whether it's the husband or the wife, then that's a contract.
That's right.
And maybe after a while that contract has to be negotiated. But if that's the contract that you went into things with, then that's a valid contract and it needs to be honored.
Absolutely.
I think the problem is, though, in the course of the marriage, when someone feels like, okay, well, you should be back in the workforce now.
Right.
You should have taken that promotion. You coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Oh, yeah.
Is where the problems lie then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is, oh my gosh, I went from earning, 6 figures, and then, we have children now. So, commuting downtown every day for 2 hours plus.
Yep.
I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to take a lower paying job. I'm going to take one without benefits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was that decision a joint decision?
Mm-hmm.
Or just, I did it on my own because it was what was good for me? Or I think is good for our family. And then 2 people don't feel that way. And so, excuse me. And I think that's what we try to address. We try to work on. We try to support.
And it's a big blow to the self-esteem, too. I know people who, when it comes right down to it, if you stay home with your kids for 20 years, it's hard to be employable after that.
Yes.
It is, regardless. First of all, I know people who've been working their whole lives and who, for whatever reason, get laid off, their business didn't succeed or whatever. Once you're over the age of 50, you're almost virtually unemployable because nobody wants to hire someone who's over 50, which is unfortunate because I think over 50 has a lot to offer the world.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
But also, how realistic is it to expect that? Fine, they have a particular educational background or before whatever decision was made for somebody to change their job or stop working or whatever, they were earning $50,000, $60,000. And now, well, just go get a job at Walmart.
Yeah.
Just go get a job at Tim Hortons because, you should just be working. So there is kind of well, why? Does it make sense for the person to spend a year or 2 or 3 or whatever the period of time, go back to school, upgrade your skills? Can the person, pay some support to give the other person the opportunity to kind of, to help, to become more self-sufficient? Yeah. And then, okay, you're now a little more financially secure. So now let's have that conversation of, do you still need my support?
Yes.
Right? And also, before we even talk about spousal support, if there's children, we have to figure that out first.
That's the first.
That is the first thing we look at.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we have to take a little break. We're going to pay a few bills here. And when we come back, we will wrap up the show because, oh my goodness, this 2 hours has gone by lightning fast. Right. But we will wrap up the show with giving people information of how to get a hold of either one of you and how to get a hold of the collaborative York Region group. And just a bit more of a, here's where to start.
Yeah.
Okay, you're listening to Fresh Waves. We're talking divorce this morning, and we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
Do you find that mainstream FM radio plays the same classic rock songs over and over, and rarely, with the exception of specialty programs, play backtracks or B-sides from your favorite albums? I hope you can join me, Chuck Roberts, on Friday nights at 9 p.m. for my 1-hour show, Classic Backtracks. We'll explore the backtracks or B-sides from classic rock artists from the 60s through the 90s and play the songs that you don't usually hear on mainstream radio. And hopefully we'll play a hidden gem that brings back some fond musical memories. During my show, I also profile a Canadian rock artist in my Coast to Coast segment, and each week close the program profiling a classic rock artist's contribution to rock music from bands to solo efforts or collaborations. That's Classic Backtracks on Friday nights at 9 p.m.
And we're back on Fresh Waves. We're talking with Minni Sharma and Sonja Curic about divorce. Minni is a divorce counselors, collaborative
specialist, psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist. Why do I have such a hard time?
I don't know. Why do you read it?
I know it's
Neutral family professional
and collaborative.
Ooh, that's nice. Neutral family professional.
Oh my gosh, NFP, net family property.
That's right.
There you go.
Inside baseball joke.
And that's family. You're a family lawyer.
That's right.
Collaborative or not, you still have the designation of doing family law. I mean, when you went into practice, you do, there's criminal law, there's business law or whatever it's called.
Corporate law. Administrative. Yeah, there's all kinds of fun.
Family law.
I help families. Yes. I try.
I guess it's a really lucrative business to be in right now because there seems to be an awful lot of business for you guys.
In litigation?
Both. I mean,
it's amazing the number of people that'll come in and I'll talk about collaborative, and it's like I'm talking about some sort of being a witch doctor. There's just I didn't know. What is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
How come no one told me about
this?
Like,
I've never heard of it. What's going on? And you
they're all stuck in Perry Mason days.
Yeah, it's all about.
And it's amazing the number of people who feel, despite all these horror stories and despite all the information they know about family law, when you actually start talking to them about the process, what's involved in starting a court application or responding to one. What's involved in a case conference? If somebody's not doing what the other person they're supposed to be doing, how do you bring emotion? How do you bring in family professionals to do assessments of your children and all this sort of thing? And they're looking and you're going, oh my gosh. And then when you compare it to collaborative and you're sitting there going, we have family professionals involved. We have financial professionals involved. So you can bring in a business valuator in court. You can bring in a business valuator in the collaborative process. It's the tone. It's the focus. It's the
energy.
It's the focus on, it's less about how horrible the other person is to let's understand the history. And now, how do we learn from that history to allow you to move forward? Right. It's it's solution focused. It's problem solving.
And dignified. I mean, there's so much more dignity involved in making your own decisions and having some control over what happens with your kids and not leaving it to someone else to decide. I think people walk away more confident and much healthier, for sure. They have healthier relationships. Their kids are healthier.
But that's not to say, though, like, we still deal with people who have personality disorders.
Yes.
We still deal with people who are liars, are horrible human beings,
and do not put their children ahead. They
are selfish, but again, and we deal with it. This isn't all about hugs,
rainbows,
kisses,
and unicorns. No, it can be challenging.
Are really nice.
They are. But there is definitely challenges to certain personalities for sure. Yes. But I think having like a family professional, and family professionals can consist of social workers, psychologists, or psychotherapists, but they have to be trained, is we catch that, right? We kind of work with that. We see where the power imbalance is. We give the person who doesn't have a voice more of a voice, right?
And they support their teammates to say, you know what, Sonja, this is, like, here's some tools and skills when you are talking to your client.
Right.
Who has this challenge,
or here's this hot spot. You might want to bring it up this way instead of that way.
Right.
That might, ease it a bit. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And based on the fact that you'll be counseling both sides, you get to know the personalities, and there are ways of saying things.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
You're really late.
Yeah.
Or, wow, you're really late. Same statement, just said in a totally different way.
Or also, your lateness, here's what it's telling us.
Or here's how it's affected us here,
This is what it just cost you.
Yeah, exactly. I started the clock a while ago, buddy.
That's something they can usually relate to really well.
I do that. I'm like, time is money, people. Are you going to keep arguing about this? So sometimes I'll just put stuff on the table like that and, tough love. And they're like, okay, fine. I'm like, you want to keep going? Keep arguing.
It's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they usually stop, because I'll put the dollar value.
Yeah, we know it. And that's kind of interesting.
Raising the dollar value.
That is. You guys, let's put it in context. This contents of the house, for example.
Yeah, you're going to fight about the dresser and spend $5,000 for a $200 dresser? Really?
Yeah.
People do that.
Sometimes they do. I heard of a case where the woman's mother, so the grandmother of the kids, gave a Christmas ornament to each of her children that was going to be passed down.
Right.
He took it.
Yes.
Right. So there's sentimental value to that.
But I thought, you can tell exactly why he did that, because it's just a way of getting under her skin.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, was it ever hard for her to let that go?
Yes. Because there's sentimental value attached, right?
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes there isn't at all. It's just, you do that. I'm going to take that. No, I want the dresser. It's all about it's all about power. It's about winning or feeling that you've lost if you give into that. Mm-hmm. But when you put it in realistic terms, again, they're getting emotional, right? Who cares about the IKEA dresser that's worth, buy a new one. I'll buy you the new one. Now you're paying me to do this, right?
And then you find out that there's $1 million taped. That's
right. That makes sense. Now it all makes sense. I told you,
criminal minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I worry about you.
And again, these voluntary processes. So the kitchen table, the lawyer to lawyer negotiations, direct negotiations, mediation, collaborative. They're voluntary. So people have to be willing
to come to that table.
To come, and they could come to the table kicking and screaming.
Right.
But the point is they're at the table. And there are certain rules that we follow. Full disclosure. So if somebody is sitting there and going, no, I'm not producing my pay stubs. I'm not producing my bank statements for the last year because there's concerns of the other person, money has been moved around. And they just need to go through that exercise to make sure they haven't, if there's lack of trust.
Right.
Okay? And yes, is there an added expense and added time? But if you can rebuild that trust, think of how much further that's going to go. Where else can we then build trust? Look, you felt that she was lying about this. We did our due diligence. We showed you it wasn't what you thought it was. Now let's move forward. Mm-hmm. Let's see that we can move forward. Mm-hmm. So there are times where a person's just like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Not going to do it.
That's where I think the oxymoron of collaborative comes into play here.
Right. And so it's also understanding why. Right. Because if I open up my books on my business, the other person's going to want to spend tens of thousands of dollars questioning, why did I spend $2.53 at Tim Hortons?
Yeah, it's counting nails, right?
Yeah.
You're making a house, and instead of looking at the big thing, you're looking at the nails.
And the value of having a neutral there to kind of say, no, you're asking for too much. You're giving too little.
Right. And people think that they're the only ones who've ever done this. And you two are testament to the fact that, no, you're not.
No.
You're not.
And as a matter of fact, you could actually have a support group for people who've been dumped and people who've been taken to the cleaners. And when you find, even at the women's groups and the women's shelter, when we had the York Region Women's Center on here, it is amazing that these women who go there thinking that they're the only one, only to find that they are the majority, not the minority.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But having those cheerleaders, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because sometimes it's really, the overprotective, maternal grandparent who's like, no, don't settle. Don't settle.
Yeah, the voices of your family can really influence,
So while my girlfriend who's been divorced for 20 years and her mother still refuses to tell her friends about it.
Oh,
and don't mention it when you come into the room. Please don't mention it because it has this taboo. She doesn't want to be the mother of a divorced child.
Yeah. There is that, but also getting your point of getting advice from Google. You also have to be careful about getting advice
from your friends,
neighbors.
I've had clients come in and say, well, here's my friend's separation agreement. This is what I want.
Yes.
Yeah,
we
which
hear
works
that a
great
lot.
for your friends and not for you.
Right.
Or how
Anyway,
come-
we're running out of time.
Yes.
I'm sorry
Oh
to
my
say,
gosh.
and I'm
No,
sorry to
no.
cut you off, but you know what? We're at the top of the hour. I'd like people to at least hear how they can get a hold of you. So, Minnie, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, my website is guidingjourneys with an s.ca, so you can go there, and I'm located right on Stouffville Main Street, and I do the whole gamut of therapy and counseling, stress, anxiety, depression, relationships, divorce. So you can get some more information about me there. Again, that's www.guidingjourneys.ca. And then Sonja, you'll give collaborative practice as well. Or?
Right. So, Minnie and I are one of two fabulous people that
Of many.
of many. There are a lot of committed, amazing professionals, collaboratively trained. So I encourage people to go to www.yorkcollaborativepractice.com. You'll see Minnie's profile, my profile, and any number of people's profiles. Durham, same thing. Wherever you live, wherever you work, whatever's more convenient. Take a look at your region and put collaborative practice. You'll find a practice group, and you can find. For myself, best thing right now, because my website's in development, unfortunately. But if you email me, and it's SANJA, it's spelled Sanja, but pronounced Sonja, at CURICfamilylaw.com. If you drop me an email, I'll certainly get back to you quickly, and we can arrange for time to chat. But yeah, information is power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, at the collaborative site, is there a place where you can actually get some information? Because to sit down with a
Yes.
lawyer at $375 an hour is, to some people, not an accessible thing to do. And they need just some information about where to start.
So a lot of it, yes, there's definitely information on the website comparing collaborative to other processes. The other thing is, when you contact somebody, say, do you offer free consultations?
Yeah. Sonja and I both offer free consultations. A lot of the practitioners do. Not all of them, but
Yeah, because to
Many of
learn
them
the
do.
ins and outs of
Yeah.
family law by sitting down with a lawyer
Right.
can cost you $2,000
Yeah.
before you know it.
Correct. So what I offer is a 30-minute free. And in that we talk more about process. I can't give legal advice. That's
During
the
that
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a lawyer, I cannot give legal advice, but I could certainly say, here are the issues that I hear are important. Here are some options and thoughts about how to go about dealing with those issues. So is it
more education, right?
Yes,
Around
it's
it.
an
Yeah,
education.
same
It
thing
is,
with me.
exactly.
I won't do
Exactly.
therapy for the consultation,
Exactly.
but I definitely will give information.
Yeah.
An education.
Here's
sure.
some process
Okay.
options.
Yeah.
Here's some places. I'm not the right lawyer for you. You really need a litigation lawyer. Let me put you in touch
with, yeah.
or
Perfect.
you know what? Don't come to me. Go to Minnie first.
Yeah.
Go to the financial professional first.
Okay.
And then come back when you're ready.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
This has
you.
been a blast.
Thank you.
Let's write it in our calendars that we need to do this again.
Absolutely. Would love to.
100%.
With 2 hours, we have barely scratched the surface.
Yes.
So next time you come on, we'll invite the listeners again to send in their questions and their queries, and we'll take from that the information that we really need to get across now that people have heard the step 1.
Yes.
And we will do a step 2.
Sounds great. Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much.
Thank you so
Anytime.
much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. You've been listening to Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM, 102.9 FM on your FM dial, and whistlefm.com, anywhere in the world where you have access to the internet. Jason, thanks for all your help behind the boards. It's
My
been
pleasure.
it's been a fantastic day, and have a safe and happy day, everyone. You've been listening to Fresh Waves, a Whistle FM production. I'm your host, Brenda Masson, and our technical producer is Jason Rumball. Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM, 102.9 on the FM dial and whistlefm.com, anywhere in the world. Fresh Waves is available on podcast too. Just go to whistlefm.ca or freshwaves.ca. We podcast all of the Fresh Waves shows so that you can listen at your leisure. Fresh Waves. It really is